Naperville News Extra begins with a look at the Illinois Prairie Path that is celebrating 50 years. People walk it, run it, bike it, and some even ride it on horseback. But this path not only serves for recreation, it connects the past and the present together in a wonderful reuse of an old rail line. As the path celebrates 50 years, I had the chance to meet some of the people who were at the beginning of the journey to create the Prairie Path.
Look ahead some years into the future. Imagine yourself going for a walk on an autumn day. Choose some part of the famed Illinois footpath.
One woman and one letter to the editor in 1963 inspired a movement.
The path lies ahead, curving around a hawthorn tree, then proceeding under the shade of a forest of sugar maple trees, dipping into a hollow with ferns, then skirting a thicket of wild plum, to straighten out for a long stretch of prairie.
Back in 1963, May Watts had an idea, and her idea was that citizens deserve opportunity to walk and to be in nature. And at that time, she noted that the local electric line railroad had gone out of business, and there was this nice long linear area that'd be perfect for a trail. So she wrote a letter to the editor of the Chicago Tribune, and that's noted as the start of the Illinois Prairie Path. That generated interest in a lot of other like-minded individuals, and it became a citizen initiative.
Carol Doty was a friend and student of May Watts. She remembers the unique decade that made the idea of a path a real possibility. The 60s were a time of movements, civil rights, the counterculture, environmentalism. People wanted to take action and make the world a better place.
And I think people were becoming very concerned about the environment. It wasn't too long before we had the first Earth Day. It certainly wasn't right then, but before long. So there were many things happening, and I think that the Prairie Path was just a very timely thing.
May Watts provided the inspiration, but was more focused on nature than politics. Along with May Watts, there were 13 other founding members of the path, who each played an important role in creating an organization that could work with the county to secure a lease for the land. Watts led walks on the path as it was being built and shared her vision with others, who later joined the growing number of volunteers.
She had a real critical mass of people who knew her, thought it was a great idea, and there was a little nucleus of them that really jumped in and did all the hard work. And she kept plugging them along. She would write a letter to the editor every once in a while, and she led walks out there at different places along the path. And there's just something about her that was just, you just wanted to do what she wanted to do.
What we know today as the Prairie Path was a labor of love. A dedicated team of volunteers worked for months creating the beginning 27 miles of the Prairie Path.
It came to be built because of the sweat, love, and tears of the volunteers. In the late 60s, the Illinois Prairie Path actually got the rights to build the path. And so by sheer spunk and determination and volunteered materials and volunteered labor, they hauled out all the junk, they cleaned up the path, they put down limestone screenings, they built bridges, all from volunteer work. People poured their heart and soul into the path. And that's because they were dedicated. It wasn't someone who just had an idea and then said, here, you do it. They took control. They decided they wanted it, and they were willing to work hard for it.
Jean Mooring and her husband Paul were a young couple when Jean came home from her garden club meeting gushing about a new idea for a path close to nature she heard about from May Watts. That meeting turned into a lifetime commitment.
When my wife came home, all excited about this potential treasure that could be developed, she got me involved, and I started working with the Prairie Path. We formed an organization called the Illinois Prairie Path Not-for-Profit Corporation, and they elected me president, and we started working, developing the trail. There were cars abandoned on it, there were old refrigerators on it. We had to go out and clean the thing up and get it opened up so that people could use it. and we were involved with it ever since.
Once the path was finished, Paul and Jean would visit every Sunday to marvel at people enjoying the fruits of their labor. When Jean passed away earlier this year, Paul kept up the tradition.
The path is something that I enjoy using. I find it essential to my life, and I enjoy watching other people use it and enjoy it.
The now 62-mile path has become a popular attraction for those living in the western suburbs, fulfilling the aspirations of the early volunteers.
It forms one of the core elements of their lives. Some people use it to go to work. A lot of people use it to kind of get away. Other people use it for health and wellness. And it forms a connecting link to many areas and many communities because it's a nice long area. And it also forms the core for other linkages and trails throughout all of DuPage and the surrounding counties. So in many ways it's kind of a backbone, and it forms an element that becomes a part of people's daily lives.
As the trail grew in miles and in popularity, many grew interested in becoming part of the trend. The counties now own the paths that run through their lands because they wanted to invest in a much-loved feature. In turn, the Illinois Prairie Path not-for-profit corporation acts as an advocate and steward for the path. And as that path turns 50, it will continue to grow.
Well, the future for the path is more connectivity. What we have with the Prairie Path and the Great Western Trail is kind of the backbone for a trail system. It's very linear, it goes through many, many different communities. Now what we're seeing is finding ways to give people easier access. So it's going from a core that you might need to travel to a network. And then that creates greater linkages to various communities. And then again, it just becomes even more embedded in our everyday life. And I think that's a worthy goal.
As Carol Doty reminisced about the history of the Prairie Path and her friendship with May Watts, she said if she were alive today, she would be happy with the continued progress.
I think she'd be thrilled. I think she would miss the wild plum and some of the other things that used to be there. The hawthorns, they're pretty much they're pretty scarce now. But I think she'd be amazed at what's happened. Well, I wish we had more May Wattses around in this day and age.
I'm Jordan Abudayyeh reporting for Naperville News Extra.